More on the election race and what the outcome could mean for the geopolitical situation after November 5th. I'm joined by former CIA Director and U.S. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta. Secretary Panetta, welcome back to Power Play. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be with you.
I wanted to ask you about that clip that we just played from former President Donald Trump, specifically speaking about Republican Liz Cheney, suggesting that she might not be such a war hawk if she, quote, had guns trained on her. What do you think about what Mr. Trump said there?
Well, it's a very typical Trump comment, which is demeaning others, criticizing others, calling them names, trying to obviously, in some way, in his way, trying to really undermine another person. And I just think it's uncalled for. I know Liz Cheney. She's someone with a great deal of integrity and courage. But more importantly, she's somebody who's very strong when it comes to our national security. And that's something that Trump is not. So I don't know where he comes up with these kinds of comments, but he does. And I think that's one of the reasons that people have to think twice about making him commander-in-chief.
And I hear what you're saying there, but polls right now are still incredibly tight. Do you think that the result of the election coming up is basically a toss-up at this point?
Well, it's very close. Who knows whether it's a toss-up or not, but it's obviously close. And it will depend on those 6 or 7 or 8 key states that are in play right now. When you look at where Harris is compared to Trump, she's in pretty good shape, at least with regards to Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. And if she wins those states, she'll be in good shape to take the Electoral College. So it really is going to come down to those states. They're going to be close. There's no question about it. It'll probably be a long night, and it may be a few days before we really know who's won the election here.
At the Democratic National Convention back in August, you said it was a moment of danger and a moment of opportunity. Why danger?
Well, I think it's a moment of danger because, the country is really facing a very stark choice between somebody who operates by chaos and uncertainty, would not be, in my mind, a strong commander-in-chief in a very dangerous world. That's not only my view, it's the view of people who actually work for President Trump and believe that he's unfit to be president of this country. And it's a choice between that or someone who will provide leadership and stability, and most importantly, will stand by her oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. That's the most important responsibility of a president. And it's pretty clear that former President Trump does not believe in standing by the Constitution or the rule of law. And I think that is probably one of the most important considerations for voters in this country, is whether they're going to elect somebody who will stand by their oath to defend and protect and defend the Constitution.
I know for somebody like you that is so foundational, but when you see the polls as tight as there are, are you shocked that they're that tight because of how you feel about it and how you say that this is such a stark decision that Americans have?
Yeah, it does concern me that it is even as close as it is, because obviously when you look at the two candidates, there's a vast difference between those candidates and whether or not they will fulfill the responsibilities of being chief executive and commander-in-chief of the United States. But in some ways, it's also understandable. Trump has built a large base that has been very supportive of him going back to 2016. 2020, they voted down the line. His biggest problem is whether or not he can attract people who are not part of his base. And that, I think, is where the difference will be. Because I really don't think that people who are independent in this country and really look at the decision that has to be made are going to simply vote the way his base of supporters vote. I mean, they basically apologize and excuse all of his behavior. I don't think most Americans, frankly, are going to be apologetic or excuse that behavior. And that's probably what will make the difference in this race.
From a geopolitical lens, how does the world change based on the winner of this election? Because we know that Ukraine is watching. And just last month, you said that you believe that Vladimir Putin views former President Trump as a source.
Yeah, look, I think we live in a very dangerous world. And we have a lot of flashpoints out there. We've got Putin, who's threatening democracy in Ukraine, and he threatens democracy here in this country. The Russians right now are engaged in a full-scale effort to try to undermine our election. So Trump is the enemy. Trump is not a friend. Putin is not a friend. And Trump keeps saying that Putin is his friend. He's not a friend of the United States. And Xi is not a friend of the United States. North Korea is not a friend of the United States. And Iran is not a friend of the United States. So one of the key things of the next commander-in-chief is to recognize who our enemies are and who tyrants are and stand up to them, not appease them, but stand up to them. And that's why I think he is dangerous, because he will, rather than standing up to these tyrants, he will try and appease them. And that's dangerous for our security.
For the security of the United States, but also of the globe?
Absolutely. I think the most important thing about the United States is we have to be a world leader. We've always been a world leader going back to World War II. We've always tried to work with our allies. It is very important for the United States to work with allies like Canada and others, because frankly, those kinds of alliances, what NATO is all about, is extremely important to protecting the security of democracies in the world. And supporting world leadership, supporting our alliances is a critical part of being commander-in-chief. And instead, former President Trump does not believe in world leadership, believes we ought to withdraw from the world, does not believe in our alliances, will withdraw from our key alliances, and basically will undermine the credibility of the United States when it comes to trying to deal with those who are the enemies of democracy.
Just in closing, I wanted to talk about that relationship between Canada and the United States. A lot of people on this side of the border are looking at this election because of the impacts for us. Both Vice President Harris and former President Trump are pushing protectionist policies. What advice would you give to Canadian lawmakers for either of the outcomes, whether it's a Harris administration or if it's another Trump administration?
Well, I think the reason Kamala Harris should be elected president is because she really reflects the internationalist history of the presidency. Since World War II, every president, Democrat and Republican, has believed in world leadership, has believed that we have to work with our allies, has believed that we are a global world and that we have to basically deal with one another. The only exception to that has been Donald Trump. And so I think she will bring a pragmatic approach to the presidency. And I would say to Canada that she represents the best hope to continue what I believe is an important alliance between the United States and Canada on a number of fronts, on a security front, on the economic front, and very frankly, on the diplomatic front as well.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Former United States Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate this.
Good to be with you.